The Philippines, an archipelago of dreams, is composed of over 7,000 islands, each with its own unique charm and character. With such geographic diversity, it's no surprise that we are also incredibly rich in languages. This linguistic tapestry reflects the diverse cultures and histories woven throughout our nation. Imagine, there are over 170 languages, each a vessel carrying centuries of tradition and heritage. These languages are actively spoken across the Philippine archipelago. From the bustling urban centers to the remote mountain villages, the archipelago resonates with a symphony of voices. Each one has its own distinct sound, its own unique story etched in time, and its own soul that reflects the spirit of its speakers. From Ilocano, spoken with pride in the north, with its distinct cadence and rich literary tradition, to Tausug in Sulu, a language that echoes the maritime history and Islamic faith of its people, these languages, in their beautiful diversity, make up the colorful mosaic of our Filipino identity, a testament to our shared humanity and unique heritage. But despite the many languages that enrich our nation, and the potential for unity they represent, why does there seem to be, at times, a palpable tension, even a conflict, between Cebuano and Tagalog speakers? Many in Visayas, the heart of the archipelago, and Mindanao, the land of promise, are hesitant, resistant, or even outright refuse to speak Tagalog, the basis of our national language Filipino. This isn't just about being picky or stubborn, it's not merely a matter of linguistic preference. It has deep roots, intertwined with the complex threads of history, cultural identity, and regional pride. To truly understand this dynamic, we need to look back at the past, to examine the historical forces that have shaped our linguistic landscape. We need to listen to the voices that are often not heard in mainstream narratives, the voices of those who feel marginalized or overlooked. Join us as we embark on a journey to discover the reasons behind this feeling of linguistic tension, to explore the historical and cultural factors that have contributed to this complex situation. By understanding these nuances, we can deepen our understanding and respect for each language and foster a greater sense of unity and inclusivity within our diverse nation. Even before the Spanish colonial era began, long before the arrival of galleons and conquistadors on our shores, our ancestors already possessed a rich and vibrant culture, complete with their own sophisticated writing systems and a flourishing oral and written literature. These systems, like Baybayin, were integral to their daily lives, used for communication, record-keeping, and artistic expression. They were the threads that wove together the fabric of pre-colonial Philippine society. Cebuano, also known as Binisaya, stands as one of the most historically significant and widely spoken languages in the Philippines. It's the primary language of a vast number of people residing in central Visayas, encompassing islands like Cebu, Bohol, Negros Oriental, and Siquijor. Furthermore, Cebuano extends its reach to a significant portion of Mindanao, particularly in regions like northern Mindanao, Davao, and the Zamboanga Peninsula, and also holds a strong presence in eastern Visayas, particularly in areas such as Leyte and Biliran. Its widespread usage reflects centuries of migration, trade, and cultural exchange across these islands. Cebu, strategically positioned as a major trade center even in ancient times, played a pivotal role in disseminating its language and culture throughout the archipelago. The bustling port city served as a melting pot of ideas and influences, facilitating the spread of Cebuano to far-flung corners of the Philippines. Tagalog, conversely, originated as the language spoken by the people inhabiting the Tagalog region of Luzon, a region that subsequently gained immense importance as the center of government, commerce, and education, when Manila was designated as the nation's capital. This pivotal decision would forever alter the linguistic landscape of the Philippines. Consequently, Tagalog gradually ascended in prominence and influence, eventually overshadowing other regional languages due to its association with the country's political and economic power center. Both Cebuano and Tagalog, however, share a common ancestry, tracing their roots back to the vast Malayo-Polynesian language family, a testament to the interconnectedness of cultures across Southeast Asia and the Pacific. Despite this shared origin, each language embarked on its own unique evolutionary journey shaped by distinct geographical, social, and historical forces. As time went on, a sense of linguistic hierarchy began to emerge, with many Cebuanos feeling relegated to a position of second best in comparison to Tagalog, which had solidified its status as the language of the capital, and by extension, the language of national power and prestige. This complex historical interplay laid the crucial groundwork for the passionate and often contentious debates that would later unfold regarding the selection and development of a national language for the Philippines. Being Cebuano is more than just speaking Binisaya, it's a deep identity and pride. The language is the soul of their culture, used in prayers, stories, and daily life. Cebu's history, from Lapu-Lapu to the Sinulog Festival, is celebrated in the Cebuano language. When their language is belittled, it feels like their identity and history are also belittled. Using their own language is a way to keep their unique culture alive. When they are forced to speak Tagalog in their own land, it feels like a part of their identity is being erased. Refusing to speak Tagalog is not just being stubborn, it's defending their pride. Valuing Cebuano is valuing their ancestors and their future. For them, language is the life and honor of their people. In 1937, President Quezon declared that there would be a national language based on one of the native languages. Tagalog was chosen, supposedly because it had the most developed structure and literature. For many non-Tagalog speakers, especially Cebuanos, this decision seemed rushed and not representative of the whole country. The national language, called Filipino and now Filipino, is often still seen as Tagalog in its essence. This policy affected Cebuanos. They had to study Filipino to pass, but they felt their own language was being ignored. In theory, Filipino should be a mix of languages, but in practice, Tagalog still dominates. The debate isn't just about the name, but about representation and equality. For many, choosing Tagalog became a symbol of Tagalog imperialism. This issue continues to reflect a deeper matter of national identity. Imagine you grew up Cebuano. Binisaya is the language of your family and community. When you go to school, suddenly Filipino, which sounds like Tagalog, is what's taught and expected of you. Many Cebuano kids struggle, not because they're not smart, but because of the language barrier. At work, Tagalog is often the official language, especially in companies from Manila. For Cebuanos, it feels like they have to adjust in their own land. Those who don't speak Tagalog seem to be left behind, even if they're good at their job. In media, almost all national shows are in Tagalog. It's rare to hear Cebuano on TV. That's why there's strong support for local media that uses Binisaya. These daily experiences deepen the feelings against Tagalog. For many, this is a personal struggle for recognition and respect for their own language. When visiting Cebu, it's important to be aware of some common misunderstandings and perceptions that can arise, particularly between Tagalog speakers from Manila and the local Cebuano population. These differences, often rooted in language and cultural nuances, can sometimes lead to unintentional friction. Often tourists from Manila, assuming widespread Tagalog fluency, will readily ask questions in Cebu using Tagalog. This is a natural inclination, especially considering Tagalog is the basis of the Filipino national language. Even if the Cebuano understands Tagalog, which many do to varying degrees, the response might not always be in the same language. Sometimes they will answer in Cebuano, their native tongue, or perhaps in English, a language widely used in the Philippines. The Tagalog speaker, unaccustomed to this, might mistakenly think the Cebuano is being rude or uncooperative. But for the Cebuano, it can sometimes feel like the visitor is being arrogant or insensitive to the local culture by forcing their own language upon them. This difference in perspective stems from the feeling of being compelled to communicate in a language that isn't their own, creating a communication barrier. For Tagalog speakers, especially those from Manila, it's often second nature to use the national language in any part of the Philippines. However, they may not realize that in a place like Cebu, this can inadvertently be perceived as a sign of dominance or a disregard for the local language and customs. For Cebuanos, approaching them primarily with Tagalog can sometimes feel like a lack of respect for their unique cultural identity and the importance of their local language. Furthermore, there's a common misunderstanding that refusing to speak Tagalog equates to being anti-Filipino or unpatriotic, a notion that is far from the truth. The reality is that loving and preserving one's own language and cultural heritage doesn't mean rejecting one's Filipino identity. It simply reflects a deep connection to their roots. Stereotypes such as making lighthearted jokes or mimicking the Bisaya accent, while seemingly harmless, can be deeply hurtful and offensive to Cebuanos. These kinds of actions only serve to deepen the existing cultural divide and perpetuate misunderstandings. On the other hand, there's also a perception, sometimes held by Cebuanos, that Tagalog speakers, particularly those from Manila, can be arrogant or condescending. Ultimately, these differing views and potential conflicts stem from a lack of genuine understanding, meaningful interaction, and a failure to appreciate the richness and diversity of Filipino culture. Cebuano is not just a simple dialect, it's a rich language with its own grammar, vocabulary, and literature. Binisaya is the language of almost 20 million Filipinos, one of the most widely spoken in the country. From bis rock bands to indie films, Cebuano is very much alive in modern times. There are words that have no direct translation in Tagalog or English like gimingao and kuyao. These words show the unique views and feelings of the Bisaya people. The history of Cebuano literature is long and colorful, from Vicente Soto to new writers and filmmakers. In Cebu, Binisaya is the language of business and daily life. A language doesn't have to be national to be a language of progress. The vibrancy of Cebuano proves the strength and love of its speakers. It's also important to look at why Tagalog was chosen as the basis for the national language. Back then, Manila was already the center of government and media, so choosing Tagalog was said to be practical. The goal was to have a bridge for communication and national identity. But for Cebuanos, their own language shouldn't be sacrificed for unity. For them, true unity isn't uniformity, but unity in the midst of differences. Forcing one language isn't unity, but assimilation. The country can be united while recognizing and respecting all languages. Cebuano speakers are not against having a national language but against how it was put into practice. What they are asking for is true equality and respect. How can we solve this issue? The key is not choosing one language but embracing multilingualism. For Tagalog speakers, it's important to learn to respect and make an effort to learn the local language. For Cebuanos, open communication and recognizing the value of a shared language are also important. Education should be more inclusive. Strengthen mother tongue-based multilingual education. There should be more media programs that use different languages. Unity starts with each person in their heart and mind. Being Ilocano, Kapampangan, Cebuano, or Tausug is not a barrier to being a good Filipino. By celebrating every language, that's where we'll find the true spirit of unity and the colorful essence of the Philippines.